Hey, how's everybody doing? Did last night. I just got done eating lunch. I just want to give I'm not going to give a shout out to everybody, but Mira's looking really good. I thought it was like an old stream she was broadcasting because it usually this time of day it's bright there like it is here. I don't know how many hours different she is. I don't know where she's at. And it was all dark. Well, she's in like a hot tub or something like that that's in a building, and when the camera's in front of her, it's all dark. And then the camera goes behind her and you're looking out. It is absolutely beautiful. I don't know where she is, but it's just absolutely, well, she is too, but the scenery she's got there is really good. Xuma's doing a fall Vault Hunters thing, and Pearlescent Moon is playing Zelda, and that's pretty much all I'm gonna do. I got a bunch of them on, but them are the noteworthy ones. Uh, I'm gonna do a short stream. I'm not doing Diablo today. It's another bad day. I'm just not feeling it. I don't want to lose my hardcore character, and just not. And oh, I can go ahead and get this up and running. Oh, it's actually showing that I got 100 followers. I've had 99 for a while, and I got 3 or 4 that it showed up in chat that they had followed me, and it was still showing 99. So I don't know if I'm losing them and gaining them, which is fine. I'm not expecting anything. Uh, I think I fell asleep before the new Skinwalker came on last night. Like, some stuff is not bad, but I really haven't been feeling good for 3 or 4 days. And like yesterday felt better than the couple of days before it, and today is not feeling good. I felt okay, and I got up and made myself some taco meat, so I don't have to cook for a while. But that I was on my feet a little bit much, and so I'm gonna persist as long as I can. Uh, I'm not gonna wait until it gets really bad. But if I start getting to where I'm stumbling a bit or having problems remembering stuff, I'm just gonna get because I had kind of a meltdown yesterday, and I really don't want to do that shit on stream. I really don't. The one thing I want to say about Skinwalker last night, I'm not like terrified, but I'm at least mildly concerned. And the Paul Benowitz. Go watch the stream if you're interested in what I'm talking about. Go watch the stream because I went into it in a lot more detail. But over the weekend, and I don't remember this, and the weird thing is, apparently, it was the subject of a oh, it was the subject of a documentary called Mirage Men, which I watched at least once. And when I started hearing this thing about Paul Benowitz, I think I got the name right. It wasn't ringing a bell. None of it was. So I don't know. It could have been the fact that I was watching the thing like early in the morning or late at night, and I was having a lightheaded day. I don't know, because I have that. That's why I don't read that much anymore, because it got to be where the stuff I read the day before when I picked up the book, I couldn't remember it. And then I might remember it, 3, 4 days later, but it's been a while, and I'm still not remembering that Paul Benowitz guy. But to give you the cliff notes of it, Um, and I don't even know if the story's true. I want to be completely clear. I really don't know if the story's true, but if the story is true, this was a guy who, it was like a good story. This was a guy that was in the Coast Guard. He had a degree, but he did not have a degree in electronics or communication. But he got a degree from like a state college, joined the Coast Guard during World War II, and he basically learned about radios in the Coast Guard. And then when he got out of the Coast Guard, he turned that into a job where he was working for, God, it was either CBS or ABC. He was working, and again, another communications job. And then the and then he basically did some sales work. Well, then he opened his own company. So I mean, this is like the American, story. A guy, he didn't go to school for, say, robotics and then became a robotics guy. This guy just went to school, joined the military, learned a craft in the military, and then basically, as he got older, he ended up turning that knowledge into a big fucking corporation. And I didn't catch this off the Wikipedia page, but and believe me, this all ties in with the Skinwalker Ranch. Just bear with me. And I only saw like half of the episode, so I really don't want to talk about last night's episode too much until I've at least seen it all the way through once. And but according to the one I was watching online, not the Wikipedia page, he became like a military contractor, and he was so into what he was doing that he bought a house near, I think it's Kirkland or Kirkwood Air Force Base or Army base. It was the base he was dealing with. He got a house real near the base, so he was close by. And if the story is true, he became the target of a government misinformation campaign. And the thing that got me, and this is this is the part that's got me at least mildly worried. A lot of what they were describing in this is what's going on the ranch for Skinwalker. They, these gigahertz signals, the surveillance. This is stuff they were doing to him, according to this. And again, I don't know if it's true. I don't know that it's not. That's, if I was absolutely sure, I at least think it's possible. And I talked about this the other day. For anybody that says, "Oh no, they would never do that," you don't know that the CIA was dosing people with LSD for, I think, well over 10 years. And I don't know if anybody died, but people, if my recollection of it is, people either died or had some problems. And I don't know. And, so I think it's at least possible. And then you look at, back during the day, our government, or at least a faction of it, knowingly gave blankets to Native Americans that were basically, infected with smallpox or something like that. And they did it for genocide. They wanted to kill off the Native Americans. And again, I'm not trying to badmouth any, but I honestly feel that only stupid people are afraid of the truth. I firmly believe that. And that is what happened. Whether you like it or not, whether you're mature enough or smart enough to accept it, that is what happened. And so I don't know. But when the episode started up last night, they were waiting for Brandon Fugel to come onto the ranch. His brother was flying him, so they were the staff on the ranch were waiting for it. While these two Chinook helicopters. Those are the big cargo, and I think they can be used in combat, but they're like troop carriers. You can move cargo in them. They're the helicopters that got the twin propellers. They're like, I think twice as long. The body of it is twice as long as a normal helicopter, and they've got two propellers spinning on the top of it. So they've got a pretty good lift capacity too. And they weren't flying a transponder. They were all black. And what happened was, oh, hang on. But they flew on the ranch, and what do we got here? Hang on. Oh, unbraking. There we go. And I don't think they were acting. It's just my opinion. You know, maybe they're doing it, but I'm just not getting the impression that they're acting. Thomas and the security guy, they seemed really rattled. They seemed really rattled when these guys came, and they didn't even know that it didn't have a transponder on there. But they're like, "What are they doing?" You know. And they didn't just fly over the ranch. They flew over the ranch and went over the mesa, and then they came back. And according to Eric, because he was watching them on the screen, he was watching them through the cameras and stuff, and then he could show them later. You know, when they got to the ranch, they could show the owner and his brother, and they could even show. I don't know if they showed him, but they could have showed the attorney general for the state. He was contacting them, and but they were a little rattled. And again, when you find out about that Paul Benowitz, that was the point of what they were doing to him, and it's a lot of what they were doing to these guys. And he ended up, if the story's true, he ended up in a nut house. He absolutely ended up in a nut house from the harassment. And I don't know. I'm at least mildly worried about it. And and this is another thing. I've been on that Threads now. I can't remember. I think I've been on it for close to a week now. Maybe not a full week, but close to a week. And what was funny is, like, Brandon Fugel's already on it. The Skinwalker Ranch, and they don't. I couldn't find one on Twitter. There does not appear to be an account for the ranch itself on Twitter. But Brandon and the ranch have an account on Threads. They're there. So if you're interested, go check it out. And there's a lot of stuff that is not there. You know, and it's people, because I got to be honest with you, I don't use Twitter that much, but there's times I have to go on Twitter because if I want to tag somebody or comment on something, that's where they are. And I finally found Mika Brzezinski, who's, I think, married to Joe Scarborough. She's the co-host of Morning Joe. I commented on hers that, you know, hey, there isn't an account for Morning Joe on here. You guys need to get on that. And there was one of the evening guys. I found him on there, but there isn't one for the show. And I go, hey, look, I'm really not trying to bother your personal account, but I go, you don't have one for your show on here. And a lot of the politicians didn't have it. A lot of the politicians, like even people I don't normally write to, but big fucking people that are a presence on social media and that. And I reached out. I found the account for the actual Threads app. And again, this might have nothing to do with it. I really don't know. I just found it freaky. I think it was yesterday. If it wasn't yesterday, it was the day before. And I told him, I go, hey, you know, there's a lot of politicians and government officials, cabinet members and stuff like that, that are not on here. I go, you guys should really reach out to them and try and get them on here, you know. You know, because I go, then I could like chat, I could like throw out comments to them here instead of on Twitter. And then this morning, I saw that AOC had an account. That did not surprise me. She's probably more social media travvy on her worst day than I am on my best day. And so I reached out to her. I go, hey, could you please, you know, talk to the people in Washington, you know, the people in Washington, and let them know they should really get on here, you know, especially if they're on Twitter, they should get on here too. And then right after that, I was going to go check and see if anybody was on. Now, we're talking 1 or 2 days. Because it was either yesterday or the day before that I reached out to the Threads app. And again, this might have had nothing to do with it. And I found out, holy shit, there were a shitload of politicians on there. Most of them elected, but like Pete Buttigieg had one up for being transportation secretary. And I mean, they were like official accounts for the office, and then you had a lot of people that had a personal account, and they had their representative or senate account. And I was a little overwhelmed, I think, and I went through there, and there were far more, but I think there were about 50 or 60 of them that I'm pretty sure I followed on Twitter, and they're there. And some of these might have been there because they weren't politicians, but like if you're into left-leaning politics and you like shit with a sense of humor, there's one. I followed them on Twitter, and they're on Threads now. It's called Mueller, She Wrote, like that special prosecutor Robert Mueller. It's called Mueller, She Wrote, and that's on there. The Senate Democrats are on there. Some of the progressive Democratic, accounts are on there. I was pretty impressed. And I reached out. Nancy Pelosi's got an, that surprised me, but Nancy Pelosi's got an account on there. I think Chuck Schumer, Senator Gillibrand. Now, he was on there the day I reached out to Threads, that Adam Schiff. He already had his, so he was ahead of the curve. He might have even, I don't know, but he might have even been on there because I saw him before I saw AOC. And, but I reached out to Nancy, Schumer, I think it was Schumer, and AOC and Threads, and I go, hey, just the other day I reached out to Threads, and today I reached out to AOC and said, hey, can you do a reach out to the people in D.C., elected and appointed, and let them know that they need to get on here? And I go, well, either they work really, really fast, or they were already working when I sent that. Because I go, there is a ton of them on there. And I can't remember if I did it that or if I did another one, but I went and looked. Bernie Sanders doesn't have one. And I told him, I go, you know, this just seems wrong. I go, I could not see Bernie Sanders on here. And I go, that seems wrong. He's like the most progressive guy in office. He really, I go, can one of you guys slip him a note and let him know he needs to get an account on Threads here? And then I singled AOC out, and I go, I couldn't find them. I'm not saying they're not on here, but I go, I could not find any of the squad. And I go, come on, one for all for one. I go, you need to get the squad on here on Threads. But I was really, but I'm not kidding you. It's like I think it's Brian Tyler Cohen. He did a thing on this. And he was talking about how fast Threads had popped up. And he goes, do you know how bad you got to fuck up to drive 70 million people to... I can't think of the guy's name. I'm drawing a blank. It's the guy who runs... it's the guy who owns Facebook. He goes, do you know how bad you got to fuck up to drive 70 million people to Zuckerberg? And it's like I couldn't remember his name. It just popped into my head. But it's like, my God, I just loved it when he did that. The other thing that happened the other day, this was on Morning Joe. Uh, they they had Marjorie Taylor Greene on there, and I might have said this already. If I do, I apologize. I found this funny as shit too. They had Marjorie Taylor Greene on the show. It was a clip that she had done, and they just ran it. They just said, "Hey, we want to show you this clip from Marjorie Taylor Greene. We're not going to comment on it until after it's done. We just want to let it air." And she spent the whole time. It was like 3 to 5 minutes. I mean, it was not a 30-second clip. She went on and on and on, and she was talking about how President Joe Biden was just like President Lyndon Baines Johnson. And, she went on, she talked about all the things Lyndon Johnson did and how Biden's just trying to continue them or finish them or improve them. And when they got done, Joe Scarborough, in his little monotone announcer voice, he goes, "This message was brought to you by the re-elect President Biden campaign." And then I think it was later that day. I think because I'm pretty sure it was on Morning Joe, and I think by later that day, President Biden, they were saying President Biden had released a new campaign clip that basically was using her clip. It was basically using her talking about all the things Lyndon B. Johnson had done that Biden was doing too, and they were just saying, yeah, even Republicans know. I'm exaggerating here. I'm not saying this is exactly what it is. I was laughing so hard I got lightheaded, and I can't remember too much about the details. But it was along the lines of, even Republicans know what Joe Biden's doing for America, and they just ran the clip of her talking about how all the things he's getting done to help people out. It's like, oh my God. And like what's that old saying, when you're digging a hole, sometimes you just need to quit digging, and there was just nobody to take that fucking shovel away from her when she was up there. It's like, oh my God. Well, anyways, but yeah, so they started out the show, they had the Chinook thing, and I reached out, now that she's on Threads, I didn't have to go to Twitter, and I reached out to Gillibrand, and I told her, I go, look, I'm a little worried about what's going on the ranch. And I saw something over the weekend, and I have no idea if it's true. I really don't. But I told her about that Paul Benowitz guy. And I made the comment that, if it's true, let's be honest. I'm watching the show, and it's fairly frequent where you have these vehicles flying over the ranch that are clearly like a helicopter, a plane, something like that, and they're not flying a transponder code. And at least once it was identified by the state attorney general that it was military. They showed it, I don't know if it was the end of the episode or the next episode, but the attorney general got a hold of him, and he let him know that he confirmed that it was a Black Hawk helicopter, and he gave him some information. I said, that's all I could get. But they are routinely flying over the ranch, and they're not flying a transponder. And they're on that ranch shooting rockets and doing other stuff, and these things are out there, and they don't know they're there because they're not flying a transponder. Until they physically see them, they don't know they're there. This is dangerous. This seems like a safety problem. It really does. And they should have to have their transponder on. They're military. At least a couple times now, at least once it was confirmed it was a military craft. So they're probably all military. And and then I saw this thing over the weekend where they were talking about, because it's being reported now that you've got intelligence whistleblowers who are prepared to tell Congress that there have been people that have been murdered to cover up this UFO story. And I go, if the story I heard was true, and I don't know for sure one way or another, I go, this guy, he was a World War II vet. He may have been the target of a disinformation campaign. And I go, my understanding is it was being done by a military officer named Major Corso. I go, that's my understanding. And I go, the way they were talking, a lot of the stuff that they claimed happened to him is stuff that is actually going on the ranch right now. And I go, I am mildly worried that this could be like a means to harass, intimidate, distract, you name it, what they're trying to find on the ranch. And I go, when you look at the fact that the government spent $22 million investigating the ranch when Bigelow owned it, and I go, they now have, it now appears that they have people, surveilling the ranch, maybe violating air safety rules by not having a transponder on. I go, I would say that that's proof that something is going on that ranch. And I go, there may be a disinformation campaign. I go, maybe this stuff is actually happening. Maybe some of it, at least, is part of a disinformation campaign. But I go, the question I have is, if there is a disinformation campaign, I go, clearly there's something there. Or they wouldn't have spent the $22 million. They wouldn't have this shit going on now. So I go, if this is a disinformation campaign, I go, what are they trying to distract or cover up? I go, if they are doing this, if any bit of this is false, and it's being done by the government or the private contractors or whatever, I go, there's got to be something that they don't want anybody to see. Oh, where the hell? Oh, shit. I must have left my horse over there. Either that or I just lost it. This is why I'm not playing Diablo. Yeah, I forgot him over here. But and I told her, I go, I'm honestly a little worried about what's going on, and I go, I really think the team on the ranch could use somebody like you backing them up. And I kind of mentioned to her that, hey, there was like $22 million of government money, taxpayer money. Me and you paid for that. Because this was all going on when I was still able to work. So I was paying fucking taxes back then. And I go, everything that the government has should be given over to the ranch ASAP. And I go, I don't think we can wait for you guys to get your legislation passed. I go, you guys should look and see if you can get it turned over now. And you probably got, and I go, I understand you probably got to wait. I'm sitting there thinking this. You probably got to wait until you do it. But, ASAP, this stuff should be turned over to the ranch team. And I go, if they want to cry classified or whatever other BS, I go, Dr. Taylor has a security clearance. And if nothing else, he should be able to see it. He should have a copy of it that he can go through everything. because I go, clearly it looks like something is going on there, and I go, it could be a clear and present danger to the people on the ranch and other people, because I go, they've been hit with radiation. You had one guy, and I'm thinking this, I didn't, you can only type so much, you're limited. It's better than Twitter, but you're still limited on characters. And I go, you know, because I'm thinking that guy's had that shit happen to his head where, you know, like it puffs up, and they said it could have been fatal, but, you know, they caught it. And Travis has been hit by radiation. Other people, I think, have been hit by radiation. And I think there's a lot of stuff they don't tell you. There's a lot of stuff that has happened that they don't tell you. And again, you know, I think there's at least a possibility that there's some kind of a disinformation thing going on. Well, could this be something that's done by advanced tech from the government? Could this be something similar to that? Because again, you know, when you go back and look at the LSD program that the CIA did, I think for well over 10 years, the only reason we know for sure about it is they had to actually come forward and apologize for it. Our government nuked like 5 soldiers in the desert just to see what would happen to them, you know, when they got irradiated. And, you know, there's stuff that, you know, the government has done far worse than the stuff I've seen on the ranch so far. So I don't think you can honestly say, well, there's no way this is the government. You don't know. But is it them doing it? Is it the ranch doing it? You know, either way, something's going on. And I think they deserve to know everything for their safety and the safety of others. Because what if what if the government knows that there's something you can do, and it's going to trigger something like Dyatlov's Pass, where everybody's going to be found dead? Because if the stuff that's going on at the ranch that appears to be real, I would say that whatever's there, if it had a mind to, could fuck them up. I firmly believe that. I firmly believe that. So, you know, it's like, yeah, you know, I think they need to know, because, you know, maybe there's a brown note. You know, watching South Park, my brother had that on earlier. Maybe there's a brown note where if they hear it, they're going to flip out. And everybody's going to be dead. I think they got a right to know. I really do. And you know, and the thing is, if they don't want to give it to all of them right now, if they're forced to give it to them all later, that's fine. But like right now, Travis could look at it, and then he might not be able to tell them, but it would give him an idea like, oh, well, maybe we can do this. And if they do it and they get a result, he can be like, oh, yeah, okay, so now we know if we do A, B happens. And he could also look at it, and if there is stuff in there that might be dangerous, he can talk to the security guy, Dragon, and they'd be like, hey, you know, we're going to do this, and, you know, I'm just worried that maybe something like this is going to happen, so why don't we take some precautions? You get ready to deal with it. And, you know, and again, he wouldn't have to tell them, but he could definitely use it to, you know, at least schedule things, at least plan, at least have an idea. And, you know, maybe it would only be 5 or 10% safer. But, you know, with what's going on at the ranch, I think any normal person would take 5% over nothing. I think if they could go from 50 to 55, they'd be happy. And I think they'd also like to know, well, hey, you know, the best we can do is 55. Maybe we don't want to do this right now. Maybe we want to think of something else. I mean, they could make an informed decision at least. And I did kind of ask her that. I go, you know, I really think that whatever the government has, because it was taxpayer money, and I made the comment that, you know, according to Brandon, when he bought this place, Bigelow made him promise, it was part of the deal of selling the ranch to him. He made Brandon promise that the research would continue. And I go, now in light of the surveillance, in light of that Paul Berkowitz guy, the guy from Thunder Scientific, I kind of wonder if maybe Bigelow, maybe there was a reason why he was asking. I think I said, maybe he knew more than he was letting on. Maybe he had a very clear reason why he thought the research continue. And who knows, maybe with the government be involved or whatever is involved, maybe he wasn't allowed to say, maybe he didn't think he'd be believed. But I'm thinking there might have been a damn good reason why he wanted to. Maybe he figured if somebody new got there, they would find something. Maybe he got shut down. Maybe he got too close to something and they shut. I really don't know. But I really would like to see that, because there was 22 million of taxpayer dollars that was turned over. And I'm sorry. And this is something they are working on, but all of that stuff that came off the ranch, like if they had metamaterials, that should all be turned over to the government. The ranch should be able to look at it and see what was found there. And I don't know what agreement was made with Bigelow, but that stuff needs to be turned over. I'm sorry, it just does. And so I don't know if it'll do any good, but I did kind of reach out today. Because again, it's just weird shit that keeps going on. And like I said, when I saw that thing, because the guy ended up in a nut house from Thunder Scientific. His son had to take over the company. He ended up in a nut house, and he died in that nut house. He never recovered from what was done to him by Corso. At least that's the story. I don't know if it's true, but when I was watching it, they actually showed clips of like somebody that they were claiming was being used by Corso, and he went to a UFO convention and basically said, yeah, Corso's with the government. He's been lying to you. And I'm not 100% sure. I'm about 90% sure. But those underground bases in Dulce, New Mexico, I think this is where that shit came from. And I got to be honest with you, I don't really know, but this was something that they had said on the Y-Files, that when you are involved in this stuff, the closer you can stay to the truth when you're doing something like this, usually the more believable it is. And Corso has said that about 90% of what he told that guy was true, about 10% of it. Well, here's my theory on it. The Dulce, New Mexico, I think has been debunked. Maybe, maybe not. I haven't been there. But I know, like, they were saying that there was something under that one airport. And I think it's The Naked Archaeologist. It's a show that was on History Channel, and it's not there anymore. He went there, and he was looking at the artwork and stuff like that. And he got talking to the one girl there. And he asked her about that, and she goes, yeah. She goes, that's just not true. And she goes, I don't know what I can do to dissuade you from that. And he goes, well, can we go down in the tunnels? And she goes, I'll have to ask. But she goes, I am pretty sure I can get you to go down there. Because she told him what it was is when they built the place, they built this, don't quote me on this because I'm not sure about the amounts, but I think she said something like and back then it was when they built the place, it was a little more, it was worth a lot more than what it was then. But she goes, when they built this place, they put in like a $7 million luggage system so you wouldn't have it going through the airport. And she goes, after they built it, they could never get it to work, so they had to retroactively add a traditional luggage system in there. And he just wanted to know if he could go down there and look at it. Well, she got the clearance. He was able to go down there. Well, hey, guess what? There was actually what appeared to be a luggage system. I mean, and, you know, believe me, I'm not an expert on it, but I've been to an airport or two. And you could see them. It's those things where the luggage comes down, the luggage spins around, gets put on a conveyor. It was just full of that shit down there. And again, you know, I'm willing to keep an open mind out, but I've seen some of these people, these UFO people, and one of them, and this is someone that I actually considered a friend. I knew the guy, knew him a little bit when I moved down to Indiana, but he put up a thing like, oh yeah, this is the front entrance to the underground military complex that's underground, blah blah blah. And at first I thought he was kidding, because he's got a pretty good sense of humor, and I'm realized, oh no, he's not kidding. And I looked at it, and it to me it looked like the stock footage from Stargate SG-1, which is, my understanding, is pictures of NORAD. Pictures of NORAD. And I kind of mentioned, I go, look, I'm really not trying to get into an argument over this, but I go, I am pretty sure that's the stock footage of NORAD that they used for Stargate SG-1. And one of the and this is a guy that was, basically in the think tank with this guy I knew. He goes, yeah, I think he's right. I used to watch that show. That looks exactly what they showed as the front of Stargate Command. And then he asked me, he goes, is it really NORAD? I go, that's my understanding. And he's like, oh, cool, I'll have to remember that, But this is the nut job shit. And again, that guy, he got sucked into this. He like literally got sucked into this shit. And then what was funny is the guy was a former cop, or was a cop, and that, according to this, again, I'm not pushing this. I'm just retelling what I heard. That Corso guy, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That Corso guy, he was apparently going to this guy that had been a cop, and he was giving him like information, and this might have been real. And I got a feeling what it is. This guy was a cop. This military guy came to him, and the cop's probably thinking, well, yeah, anything this guy tells me, I'll keep secret. And Corso was probably counting on it, because he would give him stuff that sounded like it might have been legitimate. And this guy's probably thinking, oh man, if I got somebody from the federal government willing to trust me, I can definitely keep that secret from him. And then, he was in, like in on the know. It was, I'm trusted, I'm special, Hang on one sec. Okay. And then what happened was, Corso came up to him, and he goes, hey, here's a document. I've shared it with you before, or something along those lines. And he goes, I want you to share it with Paul. And then, and basically try and get him to share it all around. Well, this guy looked at it, and he noticed that, if I'm remembering right, he noticed that there had been changes. This was not the document that he had seen. And he told him, he goes, I'm not going to lie to this guy. I consider him a friend. That you made alterations. This is not the original document. And the guy basically told him, he goes, oh, well, that's okay. But he goes, if you don't do, because what he had done up to this point is Corso had been like, okay, well, all I need you to do is keep tabs on people. Like if so-and-so is doing something, like if they're going to have a meeting, I just need you to keep an eye on them and let me know when they're going to be doing things. And then I can either tag along or ask them about, or I can keep an eye on them. I'm interested. And he agreed to it because, again, he thought, oh, maybe the government. He's probably thinking, man, the government, they're the good guys, no big deal. And but this one here he wouldn't do. Well, then when the guy said, he had him hooked. And according to the story, and he's like, well, if you don't do it, you'll never see me again. Which meant he wouldn't have access to the secret documents. So he agreed to do it, but the way they told the story, he told Paul that maybe he, you know, it's like, look, I'm showing you this, but please don't show it to anybody. And I might be remembering this wrong, but it seems to me after Paul ended up in the nut house, and this is a clip, this is one of the clips they showed in the Y-Files. This guy went to a UFO convention, and he told everybody, he goes, hey, those of you who know this Corso guy, he's a government agent, and he's been lying to you. He got booed. The fucking sheep that were at the UFO convention did not want to know the truth. They didn't. They did not want to know the truth. They wanted the lie. And they booed him. And one of the guys that was there must have been like an organizer. I don't know. Cat's meow. Oh. I'm not going to say anything to him because Trouble comes in and talks to me. That's the male cat. And when I talk to him and I tell him to go ahead and use the potty, he leaves. I think that poor cat's been holding his shit for quite a bit. And every now and then he'll get, like, usually it's my brother, but I've done it once in a great while. He'll want to go out on the porch. Because, see, the female cat, and this is what really bugs me. When this was upstairs, we had one. They had to share. When we brought it down here, there's more room here, so we put 2 litter boxes out. Good boy, Trouble. We put 2 litter boxes. She still does not like him coming in and using the litter box. And I'm like, I'm sorry. You know, you might not like him. Maybe you don't want to share, but if he needs to shit, he needs to shit because, you know, it's just the way it is, you know. And, because he'll do that. He'll come in and he'll chat me up. He'll talk to me when he comes in here. Well, as soon as I start talking to him, he just sort of looks at the litter box, looks at me, and then just leaves. And I'm like, my God, Patches is the only one that doesn't like you going in there. I'm okay with it. I feel bad for him. I really do. But, so I turned around. I almost said something. I'm like, yeah, don't talk to him, man. He'll just, I thought Patches was in here. I really did. And it was him. But yeah, so I don't know if the ranch appreciates this, or I really don't. I don't know if they appreciate it. I'm honestly trying to help, but I'm not kidding you. And I told her, I go, look, we've got whistleblowers that are being reported saying that people have died for this. And I go, I'm seeing a story online that there was a guy, and I go, I'm pretty sure that military guy has admitted to running a disinformation campaign. I go, you had the military running one, and he was running it. And I go, and when you hear these stories that intelligence whistleblowers are saying, yes, people have been murdered to cover this up, I go, I am honestly a little worried about the people on the ranch. I go, I really am. I'm really lightheaded. I'm going to probably keep playing, but I'm just going to go. And for anybody that was on here, I appreciate it, but I get notifications at least some of the time when people follow me, but I don't get notifications when people come in. I'm not seeing anything in chat. I can go in here right now and type in hi. And I see that in there. But I am not seeing anything else, although I do occasionally see a notification that somebody followed me. But if you guys are typing chat in here, I'm not seeing it. And when you guys are coming in, if you guys are typing in lurk, none of that is coming across my chat. I have no idea. Like this happens about half the time. I get this thing where it's AFKC is now live streaming Minecraft, and then it's had this connecting up. So I don't know if it's fully connected, so the chat might not be working. I do apologize. If anybody's there, even if I don't know you're there, I do appreciate it. But I'm kind of lightheaded. I'll probably get a little bit done off stream, but I don't know how much I'm going to do. But I'm just going to go ahead and call it a day. I hope everybody has a real good day. I will try and get on tomorrow and do Diablo. Peace out and have a good day.